All right. There we go. What's happening? Having some technical difficulties with YouTube, but here we are. As always, got a lot on my mind, so just gonna free ball, speak from the heart a little bit. Got one person joining. If you want to chat, want to drop in, let me know what's up, what's happening. Always good to hear from you guys. But something that's been on my mind today is it is not supposed to be easy. So many people want the easy path. So many people want to just show up and be the man. People think that things just come easy to them, and I understand. We're in the era of social media, instant gratification. You can be an absolute nobody and try to build hype and get clicks and get views, and it can make you feel real good. But in a sport like strongman, it's kind of the most amazing thing is you can't just deadlift 800 pounds out of nowhere. With your physicality, you can't just have big biceps or ripped abs just easily in this sport. So something's been happening recently, and I really don't even care to hide names or this or that, but you probably know who I'm talking about. And so what we have coming up here is World's Strongest Manatee number 5, and there's making some waves today. By the way, I don't even post this stuff when WOD Wars, the hosting expo, posts these things. I don't make the posts. I don't make any of them whatsoever. I have no input into that. I'm sure I could if I wanted to, but it was announced Florida's Florida's largest strongman show of all time. And I'm really proud of that, but it's never been my mission from the start to make this the biggest show ever, but numbers don't lie. And I have 117 athletes signed up. It's going to be an amazing day. It's going to be an absolute blast. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. But of course, this is ruffling some feathers. So somebody in this community was out running their mouths about how they had the largest strongman show in Florida. And I just don't understand why people think it's necessary to get into a pissing contest about this stuff. I'm not saying this myself, but numbers don't lie. You can say all this and that and say, oh, well, it doesn't count because he's in an expo. That is the wildest thing I've ever heard, because let's just put it this way. The Arnold Strongman is one of the biggest shows in the entire world. Outside of World's Strongest Man, it is the most watched strongman event in the world. So you're trying to say that because the Arnold Strongman is at the Arnold Classic, then it's not really like a real big strongman show, because 99% of people that are going to the Arnold would already be going anyways if the strongman show wasn't there. So pretty crazy, honestly. I don't really take offense to this because I've worked for it. And from the very start, my mission is never meant to be anything other than I want every person that comes to my shows to leave saying, I had a great time and I want to come back. And this has been 5 years of this. I didn't just wake up one day, decide that I was going to run a show and get asked to participate with WOD Wars. This is a relationship that I've been building with the main expo promoter over the last few years. My first show that I did in an expo was at the Tampa Fit Fest in 2023. Yeah, right, exactly. In 2023, I ran Beast of the Bay. That was a 60-person show, sold out, awesome, super stoked. 2023 sold out once again. We had 75 people that day, and then last year, 2024, we had 100 over the course of the weekend. We had 65 on Saturday, and we had 30 on 65 Saturday, 35 on Sunday for a Masters only show. So what I'm trying to say is, and this applies to everything in life, is that the relationships that you build and the character that you are and you have throughout every single event and just moment in your life brings you opportunities down the line that you may never know are coming. It is beyond my wildest dreams and expectations of what I thought for a strongman show that I would be able to host it on the field of an NFL stadium. But I've worked very hard to put on these good shows and get people to come back and now they're back. Of course, it certainly helps. It's very exciting, the location and the venue, but because I've worked well with this expo promoter, because I have had fun events that run on time, I've never had a single event, no matter how many people, go past 5 p.m. And I think I'm going to be able to pull that off pretty well this year. I'm already calculating the heat times. I'm going to give everybody lane assignments. I think we're going to be done with this thing by 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon with 117 people. Even if, let's say, 15 happen to drop out and it's 100, whatever, we'll still be able to knock this out pretty quick. So just remember that whenever you're going into anything in the long-term pursuit, it really is the small things that add up big and big and big over time. You have to remember, whatever you're chasing, this compounding interest effect is very real in every single way. Of course, people talk about that with, your investing, where you start having this accelerating curve up where you are adding more and more and more, and it just takes off. This happens too with your physicality and your gains and your strength. If you've talked to anybody that has been in this game long enough, they're going to tell you that at one point they just felt like they busted through a plateau and then it took off. And a lot of times too, that takeoff may take a couple years of some grinding and seeing just a little bit of progress at a time until something clicks or an opportunity presents itself or you stop getting in your way. And then you just take it to not just the next level, but many levels beyond that. But if you think that you are already at level 10 and you've only put in the work to be at level 2 and 3, you are going to keep yourself there forever and ever and ever. So, I got Jessica Taylor here. Yeah, I'm very excited that she signed up. It was a ton of fun last year. We had the tractor push, which was an unbelievable event. I hope we get to do that again someday. That was probably the most fun event I've had in any of my strongman competitions. But I've had people for the better part of the last year telling me, hey, let me know when you sign up. I will be back. That gives me the biggest joy to have people ask that, because I do want to deliver a good product and a good service. And I want this to be a platform for people to train really hard, become a better version of themselves. And that's a ripple effect that carries on into the rest of your life. This is really at the core of why I put on strongman competitions. Is it's a ripple effect. If you bring your friends and your family who don't work out and they're not gym rats like you or I might be, they're going to see you do something pretty dang impressive. And they're going to wonder, what could I do? Could I do something like that? Or maybe just give them a boost of confidence and courage to say, either you guys see Jessica, Mark, Joseph, like anybody sees you doing these things, they're going to be like, heck yeah, man, I want to do something like that. It could be going to run a 5K for the first time, or just trying out a new workout routine in general. We want to just radiate risk and confidence, even if it doesn't go amazing. We're all the worst critics of ourselves, but that you've probably been in a situation where something didn't really go very well to your own expectations, but you still had people tell you like, wow, you did so amazing. And you probably don't want to hear it, but remember what you are showing to others. You're showing others that it's cool and awesome and very admirable to put yourself on the line and even have the chance to fail. Strongman is such an interesting one because we have very heavy, very challenging events. We're going with, at this competition, 100 other people, but you could lose. You could show up and have the worst performance day of your entire life, but it's not really ever a fail if you have gotten stronger, if you have learned something over the course of your training. A proper training program should be designed so that you are just slowly, bit by bit by bit, adding on to your current abilities. So even if you show up and have a very off day, or I've known people who have gotten food poisoning the day before and tried to fight through a performance and didn't perform anywhere near where they could or should have, they still are capitalizing later down the line from that steady growth. So you just have to think about these things in the big picture. everything you have to think of in the big picture. I've been listening to a good bit of Jocko stuff, and one of the things that I was really zoning in on is he talks about how easy it is to focus on the battle and also how difficult it can be to focus on the war, the long term. So think about what that means for you. I unfortunately am dealing with, some people that have, a couple injuries, and it's questionable about whether or not, they'll be able to make a certain show. But at the end of the day, we're thinking about the grand scale of life. I'm only 33, but I'm already thinking like, oh man, I have these huge competitive goals, but what am I going to do when I'm 34, 35? What amazing things am I going to be able to do with my body when I'm in my 40s? Yes, yes, Trapper came. So this is a whole other side note. I could do a whole thing on this, but reactive training for tendon injuries. I'm gonna probably make a full post about that. Um, but anything can be overcome with a little bit of creativity and thinking outside the box, right? You have to remove yourself from your head and think about, again, this big picture. It's that simple. Why don't we take this into a talk about paradigms? This is kind of where I want to go with this, but I want you to consider that everything that is happening in your life right now is a result of your paradigm. Your paradigm is the combination of your conscious and your subconscious thoughts. The thing about your subconscious is that it's on all the time. Your conscious mind really only accounts for anywhere from 5 to 10% of your thought patterns. And that's what you're choosing to think, choosing to listen to, choosing to watch. But that subconscious, that's everything around you all the time. So I used to think about this as I lived in the city of Chicago for 5 years, where I would constantly be surrounded by millions of strangers and tons of noise, tons of violence. And what happened was I got totally desensitized to other people and like really like crappy existing ways of life and ways of being. It was just a normal day on the L train, the subway, if you would see somebody drinking hand sanitizer on there. I'm not kidding. Remember the first time I moved to the city, I saw that and I remember thinking, wow, that's like something they tell you about in the DARE program. When you're really alcoholic, then you have to get your fix from drinking hand sanitizer. But then I saw it dozens and dozens of times. And, by the time I was leaving 5 years later, it was just another day in the life. So what are you constantly surrounding yourself with that's creating your current system and your current frame of reference, right? It's like, how do you think about yourself? How do you view yourself? Do you think of yourself as a winner, a loser, a warrior? Are you down on yourself all the time? And this could be the people that are around you, the music you listen to, the media you take in. It's very important to try to have a little openness and be open-minded to those things, right? Music is very important to me, and it can be a very powerful drug. For years and years and years, I would listen to heavy metal and gangster rap, and sometimes I still like to enjoy that, but only really sparingly, because if you're listening to some of those lyrics, like, wow, they are not in any way in alignment with what I want to achieve in my life. If music is just talking about like getting angry, getting drunk, getting high, fighting people, gang banging, sex, drugs, violence, none of those things are like really what I'm trying to go for here. I'm trying to go for a very high level of performance and achievement. So why would I subconsciously let those lyrics over and over and over again layer into my head, right? They say that you can, well, just think about immersion. If you wanted to learn a foreign language as fast as possible, the easiest way to do it is to just drop yourself in somewhere where you're completely surrounded by it. And this works on a subconscious level because even if you're not picking up on the street signs or something you hear on the radio or people chattering, it just becomes so second nature to you that your brain's going to start picking up the signals to tune in to that language. So little things such as these medals and these pictures behind my wall. Every single day I come in and I see this Cavs poster. I see Marius. I like my WWE little kids toy title belt. It just makes me think of being a champion. I have these things that remind me of the hard fought accomplishments that I work for. I have my medals and my athlete badges over here to the side as well. And I also have a vision board, which is big words and imagery that are trying to lock me in to what I'm trying to focus on. So you can really create a mentally sharp subconscious. A lot of people talk about these crazy guys like David Goggins and stuff. He made himself into an absolute beast and a savage. While his story and his way he presents things might not be his flavor, he made an amazing transformation of being over 300 pounds fat. He used to be a janitor at disgusting places where he would be getting no sleep, dead broke, and he turned himself not only into a SEAL, but Woodlands firefighter and an Army Ranger. So anything is possible if you really choose to put those right inputs into your brain, right? Now, this requires a little bit of auditing all the time. You always have to be recalibrating and checking in and seeing, am I headed on the right path? And it takes a lot of courage to swallow your own pride and ego and admit, hey, maybe I'm actually not doing what I need to do. So, what do you do if you're stuck in a pattern that you can't break? Well, there's a couple things. First is changing your state. This is why a cold plunge is so phenomenal, is because it immediately changes your whole physicality. It gets your body feeling completely different, and it's going to snap you into a different way of thinking. But you can do this through moving around, shaking your body, going for a run, doing push-ups. If you are always going to the same workplace every day and it makes you really mad and really upset to be there, then you can just do little things to disrupt the pattern, like take a new way to work or listen to something different on your way in. So when we are doing all these repetitive things in our lives that are habitual and in our subconscious, it's creating a layer over and over and over and over again of these pathways that just strengthen whatever it is that you're doing. You have to walk as far out of the forest as you walked in. But if you're clear on where you want to go, you can build a highway to it, and you can build yourself, metaphorically, a race car, a jet engine to get out quickly. If you don't know what I mean by that, I'm just saying, once you are conscious and once you are really paying attention to all these different inputs, you can layer all these different things in your life. You can start a new morning routine that primes you to get ready for success. You can start listening to an audiobook for 10 to 15 minutes in the morning to get your mind thinking about whatever it is you want to be thinking about. Business, making money, making gains. You can listen to good, positive music that is uplifting, that'll put you in the right mood. I'm sure we all have guilty pleasures of these different types of music, like I just talked about with my rap and my metal. But I love Pantera, but I don't need to be listening to music about partying and fighting people, right? It's just that simple. So, how can you stack as many things as possible on top of your life, in your environment, to constantly overload yourself and positively brainwash yourself for what you need to do and where you want to go? That's really what this is all about. I went on a whole different tangent from where I started, but you have the power to author your life. You have the power to be and do anything that you want to do, but only if you're completely honest about where you are in your life right now. If you're lying to yourself and you're saying that you have all of these achievements, but there's no merit to back it up whatsoever, then you're in a disconnect with reality. Your results are your reality. If If you don't like your results, you can have different results, but you have to accept that you're living in this paradigm that got you to exactly where you are. Your paradigm has to change. Your subconscious inputs have to change. Just start thinking all the time about whether these little things here or there are good for you. Your food, your relationships, your job, your gym. So many things we could go on and on and on and on about, but that is my advice to you is to constantly keep recalibrating, figuring out where you are in your life. Is it where you want to be? No, maybe not. Then change it. But if you are en route to where you want to be, keep going. Think about how you can pour some fuel onto the fire, how you can hit the gas pedal a little harder, because there are always ways to get there a little faster. But it's going to be difficult. It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. If it was easy, everyone would be a champion. When I used to work out at Metroflex Gym in Arlington, Texas, home of Ronnie Coleman and many other world-class bodybuilders, those guys would absolutely kill themselves. Brian Dobson, Ronnie's trainer, used to always say, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Ain't that the truth? It seems so simple to say that, but it's so true. That's all there is to it. When you're trying to do something hard, when you're trying to go above and beyond, you have to remember that you're choosing a difficult path and own it. Be proud of it. Be proud of the work that you are putting in when you're doing those constant check-ins and recalibrations and figuring out if you're on the right path. Own what you have done, even if it's all positive. Look back and say, fuck yeah, man, I've done it. I'm doing it. I'm going to keep going. So that's that. If you guys have any thoughts, I'm going to kind of just jump off here in about 2 minutes, but it really kind of upsets me sometimes that I just think a lot of people are delusional and not really living grounded with their feet on the ground based in reality. It's kind of unfortunate. I don't view myself as anybody that is particularly special. Like, the only really good genetic gifts I had physically is I've got strong legs, but not like super strong. I'm not like a sprinter or I'm not like a world record squatter. They were just kind of good out the gate, but still had to work to get up to good squat, good deadlift, good moving events. I definitely was not athletic to start. I had to work hard. I had to do sprints. I'm doing hard conditioning on the Echo bike now to completely rewire who I am, because when I look at my results, I am not elite at these 60-second window conditioning medleys. That's an area where I have a big, big opportunity to get better. And whenever you're trying to change those things, you have to understand you're coming up against inertia. You have to overcome sometimes 10, 15, maybe 20 or more years of the patterns that you have been doing that got you where you are now. While it may not take you 20 years to overcome it, you have a lot to overcome. It's just not going to happen automatically. So that's that. When you're feeling discouraged or you're feeling like this shit is all too hard, just remember, it is not supposed to be easy. And that's that. I'm going to end it there. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching.